Hello, everyone. My name is Brody Sanchez, and welcome to my presentation on risks of computing and government policy for CGS 3095. Today, I'm going to guide you through how technological advances are reshaping how our government operates, both making things easier for citizens and introducing new risks that we all need to be aware of. For our overview, the purpose of this presentation is to analyze how government adoption of computing transforms services but also exposes us to new vulnerabilities. I'll look at key areas like electronic voting, healthcare data, and financial aid. You'll also see a global comparison of how the US, European Union, and Estonia manage these challenges, and I'll close with an ethical analysis on the duties of governments to protect our data. For our background, let's ask the main question. When did the public sector become digital? Over the last few decades, both federal and state governments have shifted from paper heavy processes to digital platforms. This change has made applying for financial aid, getting medical care and data, and even voting more convenient and accessible. But as with most technology, it has also introduced new risks like data breaches and privacy concerns. As we grow more independent, as we grow more dependent on IT systems and government, protecting both personal and public data becomes absolutely critical. Now, let's talk about electronic voting. The Help America Vote Act of 2002 led to the replacement of old punch card voting with electronic machines. This made voting more accessible, including for people with disabilities, but it also brought new risks. If a machine doesn't have a proper audit trail, then we can't guarantee that votes are recorded correctly. Hacking is a threat, and potential fraud worries many voters. Public trust in the system is absolutely vital in a democracy, and these vulnerabilities put that trust at risk. Now, consider financial aid. Since 1997, the free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA, has been online. Applications became much more easier and more accessible for many citizens, but centralized sensitive data is attractive to criminals. If the FAFSA website is breached, tens of thousands of people's social security numbers, family tax details could be exposed at once. There have been past incidents of parents' potential phishing, identity thefts, and data breaches affecting students and families across the country. When you apply to college, you're putting in very sensitive data, and it's important for this to be private and secure. Healthcare is another field that has gone digital, with HIPAA in 1996 and high tech in 2009 setting privacy standards and digital standards. According to the latest numbers, more than 90% of US hospitals now use digital records. While this makes sharing and access more efficient for doctors and patients, it creates a big target for hackers. Ransomware attacks on hospitals are on the rise, and citizens' privacy may not be protected enough under current systems. Now, an overview on the US. What are our national challenges? Well, the move to digital infrastructure brings national challenges. Federal agency and critical infrastructure, think electricity, banking, transportation, all rely on IT to function. But as we connect more systems, cyber risks spiral, especially when we don't have a centralized cyber secure regulation. Malicious actors are growing in numbers and skill, and many types of cyber attacks are on the rise, with greater costs and more impact than ever before. If you can see my chart, here you can see the improper usage. Basically, people breaking usage policies or making mistakes account for over a third of incidents. Email phishing, impersonation, web attacks, and loss of equipment also make up a very large chunk. These are huge problems because even one breach can expose thousands of citizens' sensitive data. For our next slide, you can see how much an incident really costs the United States and citizens with taxes. Just to underline the stakes, in 2021 alone, there were over 26,000 reported cybersecurity instances across federal agencies. Business email compromises jumped by over 66% in just 5 years, and there were more than 37,000 ransomware attacks. The financial cost and the cost to our trust in government continues to rise as these incidents become more common. If you can see, the cost per incident becomes very costly at the end of 2016 being $26,074. Now, why does this matter? Well, breaches threaten the privacy and financial well being of every American. These incidents cannot be happening. So, our general agency decided to create a plan, and since 2010, the GAO made 4,000 plus recommendations, but over 850 still remain unimplemented since February 2023. 52 are priority recommendations that are still outstanding, and until fixed, U.S. systems can remain highly vulnerable, which you can see here. The main points are to protect the cybersecurity of critical infrastructure, protect privacy and sensitive data, securing federal systems and information, and establishing a comprehensive cybersecurity strategy and performing effective oversight. Now, on the global level, I'm going to be comparing the United States with the European Union and Estonia. For some background, Estonia was suffered a massive cyber attack in 2007, so they use centralized standards and advanced technology like blockchain to protect citizens. And their defense leads cyber unit is a model for joint military civilian cyber defense. The US uses decentralized standards and agencies like the US Cyber Command, but rules vary widely by public sector. So the healthcare sector might not have the same amount of protections as the financial aid sector has or the IRS. Meanwhile, the European Union has unified mandatory regulations enforced by the European Union Agency for Cybersecurity, or ENISA. Now, to look at ethics, let's look at this from an ethical lens, specifically Kantian deontology. Now, our Kantian duty is government's moral obligation to protect citizen data. According to this approach, governments have an absolute moral duty to protect the data they collect from citizens, and in the US, voluntary fragmented approaches from each public sector fall short of that duty. By contrast, the EU and Estonia treat privacy as a basic right and make it a serious regulation that ensures strong accountability and reflect a deeper respect for citizens' autonomy. Now, the social legal impacts is that this isn't just about technology. Cyber incidents hurt real people by exposing medical, financial, and even voting information. This can cause distrust in the government and might even be the end of democracy for many people here in the US. Socially, socially, breaches damage trust in government and make people less likely to engage with digital services and democracy itself. Legally fragmented rules lead to gaps and confusion and perhaps fraud. To truly protect society, laws need to be unified, transparent, and strictly enforced. Now, what can the US do to be better? Well, first, they should centralize oversight and standards across all federal agencies, mandate minimum security requirements, and enforce strong penalties for violations, modernize and secure outdated government IT systems, no matter the cost, make sure that every single state has the same amount of security so we're all equal in the United States. We have to require prompt, standardized reporting of cyber incidents and breaches, and be fast with how we react to cyber incidents and breaches. Gotta expand use of blockchain technologies, just like Estonia did, increase national and international collaboration on cyber threats and prevention, and all of these changes would close gaps, improve rapid response, and help regain public trust. Now, to conclude, technology has made it easier for citizens to access government services, but it's also created serious risks. Strict regulations, as seen in the EU and Estonia, make governments more trustworthy. And finally, Kantian ethics tells us that the government must protect our data, not just because it's smart policy, but because it's their moral obligation for us as citizens. Thank you for listening. All data and laws and best practices cited in this presentation are listed in my references, and you can also read my essay. Thank you so much.